Hello, WiCCD members. My name is Maya Shukeri, and I am WiCCD's Education Committee Director. I'm happy to introduce our series, Finding Your Niche. In this series, we will interview female criminal defense lawyers who practice in a specific area within criminal law. The goal of our series is to highlight the work and accomplishments of female criminal defense lawyers, but it is also a way for us to introduce you to specialty areas within criminal law. We hope we can help you find your niche. Enjoy the series.
Hi, Katie. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Maya. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, and it's always nice to see you. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, and I'm very excited to have you today as my guest for Finding Your Niche. I really have a lot of questions that I wanted to ask you, Katie, because you have a very interesting practice, and it's very nice as someone who has known you for years now. It was very nice to watch the evolution of your practice. So let's start by talking about what you do, where your firm is based, and we'll start from there.
Okay. So I'm a partner at DeMelo Heathcote. The firm is based in London, Ontario. We deal with all criminal matters exclusively. I believe Cassandra may carry one or two civil files, but we really do focus on criminal law. We do work in surrounding jurisdictions as well. We're lucky that London is very centrally located. So we do work in St. Thomas, Woodstock, Stratford, Goderich, Sarnia. So it's been nice working in London because we were able to expand our reach into those smaller surrounding jurisdictions as well.
Nice. So you're a partner now with Cassandra DeMelo. We already interviewed Cassandra in a previous episode, but I want to focus here on you, Katie, because you actually started as an associate in this firm. You're a partner now, and I witnessed how you started. You were very young. You were an associate, and then you slowly became a partner, and now you're really very good friends with Cassandra. So the first thing that I wanted to ask you, though, is first of all, how did you meet Cassandra? Were you girls friends from before? Did you go to school together? How did this happen?
Yeah, so in 2017, I was articling in Windsor, and a good friend of mine who was also articling aside me in Windsor knew that I was looking for work as an associate. She had previously summered with Cassandra when she was a 2L student. And she had said to me that her experience at Cassandra's firm was excellent, and she thought we would be a good fit. No harm in applying and seeing how things go. So that's exactly what I did. Cassandra and I met actually in an informal type of interview setting. We had dinner at the keg. And we realized that we meshed quite well. And it was about a week later that she had offered me an associate position. So I was fresh out of my articles when I joined Cassandra, which I think is really joined with Cassandra rather, which I think is really important because Cassandra was able to work me up as an associate and teach me her systems and her way of doing things. And Cassandra is a very organized individual. So I feel that I was able to learn how to run a criminal file the right way. And so that's kind of how we started. And then it was after 4 years with her, Cassandra and I sat down. It was always known to me that in time, the possibility of becoming a partner was always there. And so at the 4 year mark, I sat down with Cassandra and I said, I feel that I'm ready now. And I'd like to discuss whether or not you're open to partnership at this point in time. And she very much was receptive. And it took us a few months, of course, to get the ball rolling on that. I mean, we still have active files that we're carrying. And we're also working on this idea of a partnership behind the scene. And so, I think it was about 4 or 5 months after we had that conversation and decided on doing this that we finally partnered, and that was November 1st of last year now.
Nice. Well, first of all, congratulations on that, because I do remember when you became a partner, and that was really very happy news. So just a few things that I wanted to unpack here. So you asked her that you wanted to become a partner after the 4 years that you've been working with her for an associate. So it wasn't her suggesting that to you. It was really you went up to her and you asked her, or maybe tell us exactly like more about that moment.
Yeah, so the dialogue was always somewhat open on that issue, because Cassandra made it very clear for me to me from the outset that there was always that possibility. But of course, I needed experience, right, as an
Right.
associate before I would be ready to take that on. And I remember it was about that 4-year mark where I very much felt like, okay, I've run a number of trials now. I have experience dealing with a variety of criminal cases. I'm now feeling ready. And I walked into her office one evening. We were both, we were the last two. I remember we were the last two in the office that day, and we were both getting ready to wrap up. And I said, "Hey, do you have 3 minutes to chat with me?" So I let her know where my head was at, and that I was hoping we could take some meaningful steps towards achieving that. And she was receptive and open to it. And we just scheduled another time to chat where we could really sit down and hammer out the details. And we did that. And like I said, it was a few months later that we were working towards the partnership.
But that's a very brave and bold move. I think not a lot of people would actually have the guts to do that. So that's actually very interesting that you went up to her and you asked her. And obviously, I mean, you had a very good connection with Cassandra, which is very obvious. We see that, and it's hard to believe that you two didn't know each other from before, because from watching both of you on social media, how you're almost always together. And it's true because you work together, but even outside of work, we see you spend a lot of time together. Honestly, I honestly thought that you probably knew each other from before, you went to school together, but it's all from the work environment that this strong friendship developed. But I wanted to ask you, Katie, what if her answer was no? What would you have done if she was like, "No, I'm sorry, this is my firm, and I'm not ready right now to have a partner"?
Right. So that's hard to answer the what
Yeah.
if. What I can say is this: I think that a lot of people get to a point in their career where they realize or feel as though they're ready to take the next step, and they may no longer wish to be an associate. And the options for me were, hopefully we partner, um, and she's agreeable to what I'm suggesting. And if she's not, my thought was, can we work out a plan or a timeline where this can be eventually achieved?
Like if it's
Because
not now, later, at what point in the
at
future?
what point
Yeah.
I was hopeful to establish at least a timeline for that,
Yeah.
and know that that is something that we are actively working towards. So it depends, if Cassandra had said to me, this is never going to be a possibility, it's my firm, and you will never be a partner. I think at that point I may have made the decision, regret a difficult decision, and I may have had to have moved on
Right. Yeah.
on my own. But I don't think that that was ever Cassandra's position, right? So when I went into that meeting with her, I knew that the door was always open, because she made that very clear to me from the outset. Once I gained enough experience, the partnership was always going to be a possibility. So I don't like to say I would have left, because I wouldn't have. This was something we were always going to work towards.
And so that obviously means that from the beginning, there was this connection between you and Cassandra. Like there is this kind of friendship that grew stronger over the years, but it was there from the beginning. If she always made it clear to you that she was open to this idea of a partnership. Well, and luckily you didn't have to worry about the answer or the outcome, because you are a partner now, and you ladies are doing really well. The firm is really very strong. You have a lot of cases. And what is interesting about your firm, Katie, is the branding. So
Okay.
if you can maybe just, if we can get into that and talk a little bit about what is your strategy for branding? What have you been doing to, like have this presence in Ontario, London, and even in Ontario? So tell us a bit more about the brand.
Yeah, so I was very fortunate when I joined as partner with Cassandra, because she had this business well established for a number
Yeah.
of years. And so I think her approach at the outset was really to get her name out there in any way that she could. So where there's an annual opening of the court ceremony here in London, that was an event that she would often sponsor. And then that
Mhm.
way we're branding there. In terms of the CLA conferences, Cassandra was often a sponsor at the CLA conference. So the brand was out there. And especially when you are a sponsor for those types of conferences where there are other criminal lawyers there, I find that that's helpful because we get a lot of referrals from other criminal counsel as well, working in other jurisdictions. So if they don't expand their practice to the London area, but a long-term client has been charged out of London or a surrounding jurisdiction, they may send the work our way as well. And Cassandra was able to make quite a few connections through her involvement with various organizations, WiCCD, as well as the CLA and so forth. So in part, I think a lot of it is word of mouth as well. So we continue to do those things. We continue to sponsor important events so that our brand is out there. But again, we also receive a lot of referrals from in custody clients. So we
Right.
always answer our phone calls as well. That's very important. So we have two paralegals who work kind of in a quasi-administrative role, and they also do paralegal work, and they rotate on our phones. So Monday, Tuesday, one answers the phone on Mondays, the next on Tuesday, and anyways, our phones are answered from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. So if we're getting phone calls from any of the institutions, those calls are always answered as well. And we receive a lot of referrals from in custody clients.
And that is obviously a really good way to develop a practice. It's when you get referrals from clients, and clients refer their inmates or other clients to you. And Katie, so sponsorship, word of mouth, and what other strategies have you been using as well for expanding the firm?
Well, I mean, our website branding as well. We don't actually do a whole lot on social media. We do have a business Facebook page. We don't have an Instagram profile, but we update our website regularly. Our slogan is judgment-free representation. And a lot of times when our clients come in for their initial intake meeting, I find that they often comment on that. And that was very important to them, because when you're involved in the criminal justice system, people feel as though they're being judged by everyone,
Yes.
their family, their friends, their employer, the community at large, really. And so it's important for clients to be able to come to our firm and feel that it's a safe place and that we will not be judging them, good or bad. They often comment on that, and they often tell us that they feel as though after meeting with us that it is a safe space for them. So that's part of it as well too.
Now, but just going back a little bit on the inmates, though, on the in
Mhm.
custody clients, because they don't always have the opportunity to see the website. So they don't necessarily know that this is your approach, that you don't
Right.
judge clients. And the reason why I also want to talk a little bit more specifically about the in custody clients is um, it's a bit more challenging as a lawyer to deal with the in custody clients because obviously, understandably, they're more anxious to have the matter move on. They're in custody, they're away from their families, so they can be a little bit more impatient as opposed to the out of custody clients. And sometimes the relationship with an in custody client, I find for female criminal defense lawyers, is a little bit more challenging. Both you and Cassandra are obviously female lawyers, and you have developed this in custody clientele. But how do you deal with them? How do you, especially for example, like some of them can be a little bit tougher as clients. So what is your approach when you're dealing with in custody clients as opposed to the out of custody clients?
So you're quite correct. Everything is more time sensitive when somebody is in
Yes.
custody, right? They want to make bail. They want bail now. If that's not a possibility, they want their trial and they want it now.
Yeah.
And so our approach to dealing with in custody clients is really you have to learn how to prioritize. So my in custody files get my full attention because there's more to lose, right? Namely your freedom. So with in custody clients, I do prioritize those files. We stay on top of our disclosure requests. We ensure that, if disclosure is incremental, we're not getting what we need, those files are put into a case management court much quicker than we would for an out of custody client to get those issues addressed. When it comes to bail, Cassandra and I both have fairly heavy trial schedules. And so I think setting expectations is very important too. Because we have an associate who is wonderful and he conducts a large chunk of our bail hearings for us so that our in custody clients can get their bail hearings and they can get them quickly. And that is so, so important. But when I talk about managing expectations, I like to tell my in custody clients from the outset, look, I can run your bail hearing for you, and that's your right if you've hired me. However, you may have to wait if you specifically want me running your bail hearing, but I have an excellent associate. This is somebody that we've trained up to conduct bail hearings in the way that we would, and we very much trust his judgment. If you're comfortable, I can have you in a bail court tomorrow with him. And for the most part, our clients are quite content with that approach.
Mhm.
And they get their bail hearings right away. And it's important to know too, Cassandra and I do oversee all of the work that's being done by our associates on our files as well.
Right.
And so I think just dealing with an in custody client in a timely fashion is so important. As I indicated, we have two paralegals working with our firm, and they often do the workup on a bail plan. So they'll contact the sureties for us, they'll complete the surety affidavits, collect the photo ID, send that off for vetting. So at least the paperwork is done very quickly. Then the associate will take over in terms of bail hearing prep and whatnot. But that's really our approach to dealing with an in custody client, is ensuring that they get their bail hearing and they get their bail hearing quickly.
Yes, and that's very important. And Katie, you mentioned that you have two paralegals in the firm, one associate, and are there other associates or is it just the one?
Right now, it's just the one, but I can say that we do have an articling student working with
Okay.
us right now, and the hope is that we will work her up to become an associate. And we do have some summer students that are going to be joining us as well next year. So that's really kind of how our firm is made up. Our hope is that when we hire somebody, we're hiring them as a summer student. They eventually come back to article, they become an associate, and in time they may very well become a partner as well. So that door is open to everyone. It wasn't
Right.
unique to just myself and Cassandra.
But does everyone who work at the firm, at your firm, do they have to be trained by the firm, and like they have to, or can you just hire someone who's an associate but who never articled or summered in your firm? Is that also an option, or they have to
Yes.
go through, they have to be born and raised in the firm?
No. It's always an option to hire somebody who's been trained elsewhere, and we've done that as well. So our current associate right now is actually an internationally trained lawyer. He was a judge in the Philippines for a period of time. He was working out in Alberta, in an area of law unrelated to criminal defense, and he was very promising when we met and interviewed with him. And anyhow, we hired him, and he had no prior experience with our firm. But in saying that, it's always great to be able to find talent early, right?
Yes.
Have them summer with you, have them article with you, and then by the time they're an associate, they know your systems, they know the way the firm does things, and they're hitting the ground running, really. And so that's great, but no is the answer. You don't have to summer an article with our firm to be employed by our firm.
Right. But I just want to go back a little bit on this point that you said, because what people sometimes don't realize is that when you're working in a law firm, you're spending a lot of time during the day with the people in the firm. It's long hours of work, and you have to kind of develop a family connection. It really becomes like family. I mean, when I see you and Cassandra on social media, you girls are like sisters. You spend a lot of time together in and outside of work, and this whole family vibe is really very important in the firm. So it's nice to see that you have that vibe going on in your firm, and that's probably why you're so successful in what you're doing. Katie, I don't want to take much of your time, but I do want to ask you one last point, and it's, what if you, maybe because you do practice and you take cases outside of London, so if you can just maybe tell us a little bit more about the difference between practicing in London as opposed to other places, other cities or towns that are maybe smaller, and maybe compared to another city, a bigger city like Toronto, for example.
Right. Yeah, so I think every jurisdiction is different. The processes are different as well. So for example, in London, we don't get a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of FaceTime with the Crown's office, because everything, well, I won't say everything, but the vast majority of our meetings are being done through email. So we send off a resolution proposal in writing, and they have a resolution inbox, which is dedicated to responding to those proposals and responding with trial readiness certificates, if that's the next step. Whereas I think in a lot of the smaller jurisdictions, you have the opportunity to pick up the phone and chat with the Crowns regarding resolution, and develop those relationships as well, because naturally you chat about the file, and then there's a couple of minutes where you're catching up, right? So I find that in the smaller jurisdictions, you do have the opportunity to speak
to connect more,
and to speak with Crowns directly, which is very nice. The bulk
or
of our
not
work,
depending on the Crown, right? Like
or not, but most of our relationships with the Crowns in the surrounding jurisdictions, we have positive relationships with those offices. The bulk of our work remains in London. That's where we're located, but we do quite a bit of work in Woodstock, and I just love that Crown Attorney's office. I've gotten to know all of the Crowns quite well, and I see them regularly, so that's always nice. London remains hybrid mostly, right? So our remands and our speak tos are being done virtually. Our trials and our guilty pleas are being done in person. Bail hearings remain virtual. In other jurisdictions, it doesn't necessarily work that way. So in Sarnia,
I can say in Ottawa, you have to go in person for bail. You're lucky that you can still run a bail hearing virtually.
right. And every jurisdiction's a little bit different, but I find that in Woodstock, we're going in person more often than not. In Windsor, more often than not, your matters are being dealt with in person, other than, you know, speak tos or remands. So it's, you have to learn. The unfortunate part about working in so many jurisdictions is that you have to become accustomed to the different rules being implemented in each jurisdiction. But you know, overall, it's been great. We've gotten to know the rules and protocols of all of the jurisdictions that we work in. But yeah, I mean, the bulk of our work remains in London.
Right. And what about Toronto, though, which is a different beast?
Right. Yeah, we don't take a whole lot of work,
Okay.
really, if any, in Toronto. We may have 1 or 2 files that we're still kind of hanging on to because they were pre-partnership. We had those files, but really, we don't do too much work in the GTA. We try and stay local. So for me, I can't compare to practice in my jurisdiction to practice in Toronto, because I don't know what it's like to practice in Toronto myself.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Katie, for taking the time today to chat with me and to tell us a bit more about your firm. And congratulations on everything that you're doing, your recent engagement. So
Thank you.
that's also very happy news. And I'm very excited to see how your firm and your partnership with Cassandra will evolve, and maybe you'll have more partners in the future as well.
Yes.
So best of luck, Katie.
Thank you so much, Maya, and I appreciate you taking the time to interview me today.
It's
It was
always
nice
a
catching up.
pleasure. Yes. Bye.
Bye-bye.